Hi everyone, it's Wally Dellenbach with you today, and I'm going to demonstrate laying out a drum shell. And I'm going to do this video in two segments. And what I'm going to demonstrate first is segmenting this shell up into 8 segments. This was a Ludwig Chicago Smoke Vistalite 8x12 that has seen better days, and it's kind of chipped and busted in certain spots that it's kind of outlived its usefulness, and I'm going to repurpose this now. I'm going to make a beautiful snare drum out of it, and I've cut it to size, so it's about 4 1/16. I left a 16th on deliberately. I'd rather have it oversized than undersized. And I've cut the bearing edges in it. Now typically when I do drum building like this is I follow a progression. So this is the progression. Cut it to size, cut the bearing edges, and now I'm going to start laying out and segmenting because I've not cut the snare beds into it yet. And I typically don't cut my snare beds into it until I get the drum shell laid out and drilled. Okay. Then what I'll do once I cut the bearing edges, I'm going to do this video in 2 segments actually. So here we go. Now what I've done is I've taken this shell and this is masking tape that I've put around it, and here's my seam. Okay, so here's my seam, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come 3/8 inch over from the seam, and that's going to be where I start my lug. Now I've seen authentic Chicago Vistalite shells that have it'll be the seam, the lug, and then the butt. But then I've seen authentic Ludwigs that have the lug, the seam, and then the butt. But I'm going to go with this layout right here. I'm going to have my seam, then it's going to be my lug. So my seam, my lug, and then my snare butt. Okay. Now the seam was always opposite the thrower. Okay. So it's on going back around to the thrower this way. It'd be snare, butt, lug. And then if you had a muffler, it'd be your muffler, and then the next lug over would be your badge. Okay, I don't think I'm going to put a muffler on this because with the drum head technology today, man, I really don't know if there's a purpose for a muffler. Okay, so the hardware, I got this off a black and white badge piccolo snare drum. You could pick them up on eBay anywhere from like 50 to 120 bucks, and so there you go. That's where I'm getting the hardware from for this project. Now, what I've done here for you drum builders, you know, everybody's got their own technique and their tools and tips and tricks. And here's my CAD system. So what I've done is I've taken measurements with the carpenter's tape here, and I'm trying to average the diameter. So what I've done is I've taken dimensions from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and then 10 to 4, or 4 to 10, whatever you want to, okay? And so there's 8 lugs, 8 different dimensions, and I'm finding the average, and they were all different, you know, within an 1/8 of an inch, surprisingly. And the reason why, what kind of threw it out was here at the seam. There's kind of a smaller diameter as it goes around here on this opposite side of the seam, but that's the reason why we're taking the average. So I added up the 8 dimensions, and I've divided by 8, and I get an average dimension of 11.875, 875 thousandths, which is 7/8 of an inch. I'm going to have a little sip of tea here. Excuse me, getting kind of dry. And so that's my dimension. That's my average diameter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, and so 11.875, and I'm going to multiply that times pi, 3.14, and I get 37 inches, 287 thousandths. Okay, now that's my circumference. We're talking circumference now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is divide that by 8 lugs, and I get a dimension from lug to lug is going to be 4 inches and 660 thousandths, just a little bit over 5/8 of an inch. Now back to the CAD drawing here. For you drum builders that have access to plotters, CAD system plotters, whatever, you can take and do the same thing here. You can take your dimension, which is what I've done, 11 7/8. I drew the diameter of the shell, and then I segmented it for my 8 lugs. Then you could take and print that out full scale to a plotter, take the plot and then set your drum on it. You'd have this circle to go by, set your drum on there, and of course watch where your seam, there's my seam, is, and from there go for it. And you also should know which, have a top and bottom picked out, okay, because you don't want to goof yourself up. Okay, so, and then take and transfer your dimensions up. I use a trusted machinist square right here. And so you take this and lay this on the print and then transfer your dimensions upward. Now, let's flip back into my method because I don't have access to a plotter or anything like that. So, what I've done is, let's go back, switch into this method. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Another way you can do it is I've got this cloth tape. Okay, so I can take and I'm going to measure the circumference. And so there's my circumference. It's the outside diameter around the drum. And I get 37 and about 9/16 of an inch. A little bit over. Okay, this saves you the step of having to go through all this. But you'll, well, not really, but you could do the same thing now. So you take that dimension and go through the same gyrations that I just showed you. Okay, so my tools here, I've got a Statler set of dividers, and this is I've got a steel tip on here, stainless steel, and then a pencil tip, and I've sanded it down so it's got a nice sharp edge on it. And now I mentioned here earlier that my dimension now around the circumference of the drum is going to be 4 inches, 660 thousandths, a little bit over 5/8 of an inch. So on my machinist square, or my machinist square, I've measured about 4 inches, 660 thousandths. And now what I'm going to do is find my seam. And this is my top. Here's my seam right here. I'm going to go seam, lug, butt. Okay? So with that, I've come over 3/8 of an inch. I don't want to drill into my seam, so the 3/8 of an inch will give me plenty of space to avoid that seam. I don't even want to hit the bevel of the seam when I drill. Okay? I want to come into good, flat. See, I don't want to come into any of the bevel on that seam. So I'm going to come over right about to there. That's about 3/8 of an inch. And when I drill my holes, it'll be nowhere close to that seam. Okay? It'll be close, but not on it. Now, so here we go. I've transferred the measurement, 4 inches, 660 thousandths, to my dividers. And I'm going to start laying out. So I don't want to poke through my tape. Remember, this is an acrylic drum. I don't want to damage the outside surface with a hole or a scratch. So that's lug number 1, lug number 2, lug number 3, just transferring from using my dividers. There's my line, going to the next. I'm going to use my finger here so it doesn't slip as an anchor. Okay, we'll keep on going. Transferring lines. Transferring lines, and we're almost there to the end. This is from number 7 to number 8 lug, and here I'm going back to the beginning, and it should hit right, and it does, bang right on it. Now, if you go over, so you come out, you do this, and you're short a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch or long by that. Just remember, you're going in segments of eighths. So you just come back and just say, well, it was even a 1/2 inch. And you just want to take and come back maybe 1/8 of the 1/2 inch. And you might have to go around this a couple times, 3 or 4 times before you get it right. And you'll eventually hit it. Now, so let's talk about this now. Oh, well, this way is so much easier if I had this plotted out, and I just transfer lines up, bang. But here's my argument for doing it this way, is you're guaranteed 100% accuracy using dividers, okay? So, now drum builders, you've got the money and the technique and the skills and the tools. I'm just a mid-level guy, and, this is how I do it, okay? These are my tools, my means of doing it, okay? So with that, I'm going to set this up here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to start transferring with my machinist square, because I'm going to transfer my lines now, or my scribe lines, and I'm going to do a couple different checks here. Remember, when you do layout work like this, it's always, you do it one time, but man, always at least double check it, at minimum, triple check it, gosh. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to transcribe that down onto these two pieces of tape. And just go around it, go around the shell. Now I'm going to do two things. I talked about double checking. I'm going to do, this is the top of the, or it's my batter edge, my snare side down here toward me. Okay, get close. Computer went to sleep there. And there we go, so we're back home. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the drum, and I'm going to come from the back side. I'm going to start, where's my seam, right there, and we'll just come this way. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to make sure that these lines from my 90-degree angle is accurate, and for the most part it is. Okay, I just want to be sure that, you know, the lines aren't towed in like so. That's kind of extreme, but just once again I'm just double checking. Okay. Right. And that's right on the button. And I'm guaranteed, like I said, when you do that, when you use your dividers like this, you're guaranteed 100% dimensionally on this. Okay. So there's my layout. I'm going to do this video in a couple segments. My next segment will be placement of the hardware. I'm going to take and divide the shell up and get my dimensions here on my drilled holes for my lugs, and we'll lay these out, and the snare butt and thrower and badge. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to put a muffler on this. So with that, everyone, thanks for watching. I'm so grateful that you guys take the time to watch my videos, and I'm just honored and thrilled that you guys check it out. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. If you got a better way to do it, by all means, please share, and that's what I'm just passing on some of my knowledge to you. All right? So, and of course, this will work on any kind of shell, these methods of laying out. So with that, until next time, keep on drumming, practice always, and drumming is part of who we are. It's our skill, it's our craft, and it's a way of life. So until next time, everybody take care, and etc., etc., etc. Bye.